So this is an exciting way to gamify your classroom instruction with your students and create a little bit of critical thinking within their learning. So what you're going to want to do is you first want to go to your Google Classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Google Classroom. And once you're in your Google Classroom, you are going to go to classwork. You can do this in any learning management system. Create, and once you're in Create, click Kami Assignment. Once you click Kami Assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to find that template and feel free to add it to your own drive, customize it as you might need to for your own group of students. So right here is that template. I'm going to go to Recent and see if it pops up. Right there it is. Select. I'm going to call this Game. Okay, so now that I've got my game, what's going to happen is I can turn on control features if I want to. These will allow students to not have access to all of the tools. So that's where some of the critical thinking could come into this. Maybe I want to turn off text comments or drawing tool because I want my students to respond via video or whatever. So again, I can turn different things on and off for this challenge. So think about what barriers you could put in place here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and assign this. And I'm going to go ahead and just make a copy for each student, but you could do this with GroupWorks and then set up your groups if you wanted to as well. Okay, so now that that's assigned, what's going to happen is my students are going to go over to their Google Classroom and pull up that assignment. So now that my students are in, what's going to happen is they're going to go to classwork, they're going to find that game, and they're going to open it with Kami. And there's going to be no really directions yet, right? Because I didn't have anything on here. So students are going to work here. So I'm going to just kind of type that for us. Students work here. Right here is where you're going to import the directions as you're ready. Okay. So again, I might start off with a really hard clue for my students, and then I will get easier by the time I get to number 4. However, you could also do this with step-by-step directions. It doesn't have to be a game. Maybe your students really struggle with knowing exactly what they need to do in which order. So you reveal it to them as they get to that. But we're going to kind of talk about that game piece. Okay, so now that my students have done that, I'm going to go back, open up that post in Google Classroom, and I'm going to hit View Instructions. And I'm going to go over to Student Work, and now I'm going to click on this Class View. So once Class View opens up, I'm able to see my students working in real time. So as my students are working down here on this assignment and adding in different activities, they are going to be able to be viewed here. So I can kind of zoom out a little bit. And again, I'm able to see all of my students' screens at the same time as they're working live. I can also provide them feedback live as well. Great job. I love where your thinking is going with this. I can come in and I can also video if I need to provide any video directions. I can come in and give them maybe a hint. Here's your hint for today. And then they're able to listen to that hint. I could type that hint. And again, just that student gets that hint. However, now that we're kind of ready to up the level, I can come back into my Google Classroom, go to instructions, update work. And once I'm in update work, what I can do is I'm able to come in here and add additional directions, add additional scaffolds, add additional resources for my students. So for this game, I would say the hardest clue here. Okay, so maybe I want my students to try to figure out something. They're going to get that. I hit publish changes. And what's going to happen is this is going to go to all of my students, okay? I can then set a timer. So maybe I want to come in here and I want to add media, YouTube video. A timer always makes a game a lot funner. So there's my 15-minute timer. Let's do this one. Copy that. It's going to get rid of the ad when you add it to Kami. Insert video, okay? So then I can have my timer maybe like right here in the middle of the screen. I'm playing it, playing it, playing it. Then I go over to this tab and I'm watching all my students work as they have that hardest clue. Okay, that timer goes off. They then get another clue. So then they get a second clue. Students begin to work and try to solve that with their groups. Again, I hit publish changes. When I hit publish changes, that goes to every single one of my students, even that video that I sent out. Okay, and then I'm going to go back. Okay, 15 minutes is over. Now they're going to get that third clue. And then they get that easiest clue where they're able to figure this out. And I might not do a 15 minutes for each box. I might do like a quick 3 minutes for each box where they have to try to figure out the task or the vocabulary word. You could do this with so many different concepts where students get additional information. But again, that hardest clue is first. So they're either working individually or with their group to try to figure out that clue and how they're going to solve that problem. And then at the very end, they can share their thinking or their thoughts along the way. But again, maybe you come up with like the difficultest synonym for a word. Then you provide an example because within Kami, you can go to add media and you can add Google Images, or I could add my own image here. And then my students have to try to figure out what we're about to learn, or maybe a vocabulary word, or maybe they watched a video and now we're doing some type of task with it. Or maybe you're even trying to scaffold again directions. Here's the first thing you need to do. Okay, timer's off. Here, I'm going to put the second thing that you need to do. All right, now the third and now the fourth. And so then you're able to chunk that assignment as well for your students.